At night, I'm like, okay, I'll need to stop. I know.
Good morning. That's pretty good. Father in heaven, we want something more. Or in some cases, we want less. Nevertheless, we want. Direct us, guide us, impress us. The direction that we can want less. In Jesus' name. So, it will be a week from next Tuesday. Excuse me, next Monday. That will be here next. So it will be 10 days until we're together again. And during that time, there will be a celebration in the United States at least. Very difficult for people who don't get out much from the United States when they go to another country and they realize that the last Thursday in November doesn't mean that much to anyone else in the world. Very funny. When my son was in Argentina going to school for years, he absolutely had a Thanksgiving dinner. So he convinced one of the professors at the college to let him prepare a traditional United States Thanksgiving dinner at her house and invite some of the other folks from the United States to come enjoy that. Not all of the ingredients are quite as readily available. In fact, if you try to get some of these foods when it's not the season for it, you might have to go to more than one store to put together everything. But this week, if you go to the store, the end cap displays at the end of each aisle will have enormous mountains of canned sweet potatoes and canned cranberry sauce, and there will be extra freezer sections just filled with frozen and fresh turkeys and that sort of thing. It has come to be, I'm going to say, for most, largely a culinary holiday. It's a food thing for many people. And this particular holiday, not just for the foodies, but for everyone else. It is really associated with what people eat at one meal and down to one meal. And I'm not sure, there might be a connection, but somehow it gets run together in people's minds, the notion of thankfulness, gratitude, and gluttony and excess. You know, I'm going to eat so much that I pop. When I was growing up, commercials on the 3 TV channels that existed. All 3 channels on the TV that had commercials. Oh, there was PBS. In Sacramento, that was a KBI Channel 6, and it didn't have commercials, so there were only 3 that had commercials on. They started running Alka-Seltzer ads just before Thanksgiving. They kept running it until after New Year's. They had slogans that we would all have to say over and over and over at school when we were little guys and gals. Plot, plot, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. In 1 year, we all had to say that and sing it over and over and over and over and over and over. And then every time there was a commercial break, you would hear this 15-second commercial where some person who looked like they were, well, probably a 60 or 65-year-old man looked like he was pregnant with triplets. And he would say, I can't believe I ate the whole thing. So we all had to say that for the next couple of years. Have you ever associated Thanksgiving with thankfulness, with something actually, not a vague sense of, well, yeah, it's true, I am thankful. Because I'd sure be upset if I didn't have what I have. If something is missing, I'll have a connection with it. I'll lose my experience if I get to the store and there's no cranberry sauce to buy. I mean, I go to 3 stores and it's like 2 days before Thanksgiving and it's too late to order it on Amazon Prime food. And I'm going to have Thanksgiving without cranberry sauce. You know, Jeff Foxworthy makes fun of probably most of the people that made this last election go the direction that it went. He said, you know, you might be a redneck when you run out of ketchup and it ruins Thanksgiving. My father will go to the refrigerator next Thursday when we set the table, and he will get the ketchup. I'm not going to get it out and put it here at advance. There's just something that doesn't belong. But he will go to the refrigerator and get the ketchup, and everything he eats will be covered in ketchup. It would ruin Thanksgiving, though, if some critical piece was missing. Imagine whatever it is you like to eat for your favorite dessert on Thanksgiving, and it's just not there. I mean, your grandparents and your parents and your siblings know that that's the thing that you love the most. It's just not there. I mean, it could ruin Thanksgiving. Is our gratitude on Thanksgiving because we're careful to make sure we've orchestrated the excess to come to a head in one meal? To remind ourselves that we have so much abundance that it's almost like having ubiquity of most resources. It's like the water faucet that you turn on. How often do you turn on the water faucet and you go, I better shut it off before I run out? Or you flip on the lights, or you plug in your hairdryer or your razors, whatever. And you're not going to use it up. It's not going to happen. It's ubiquitous. It's like the air that you breathe. Clean water, electricity. I only remember a couple of times in my life, and I'm 54, where in California you could actually go from gas station to gas station and there wouldn't be gas. It would have already run out of gas. I can remember 2 times when they did that, and that was artificial. That was manufactured. There were tankers full of crude oil off the coast being embargoed because they were controlling the prices by making we're making gasoline go up from like 30 or 40 cents typically up to above $1 back in the 70s. And it required that kind of a stunt. Until then, people had been expecting that they could go and get cheap gasoline. I saw gasoline during these competitive price wars sometimes at gas stations. I saw gasoline less than 10 cents a gallon. We have come to expect that the stuff we need is on tap. If we go to Safeway, we go to the college market, and they're out of something, sometimes we swear. If we're out, we'll go and say something short to the grocery or the produce manager. Is there a way, when Thursday rolls around, and as we're ramping up to Thursday, is there any way that in the life and mind of a holy person, which you can be, you can categorize yourself as a holy person, holy man or holy woman, and is there a way that this, like all holidays really, artificial holiday, somebody declared we're going to do this, maybe it cheapens it a little bit that it was probably some sort of political decision that made it, or governmental decision to make it a holiday and everything, but nevertheless, it's an occasion, and it's a good opportunity. Is there any way that a holy person might approach Thanksgiving in a different manner? One of you came up to me after class, and I won't point my finger at you and embarrass you, but you can raise your hand if you want the credit, and said, hey, along with those 3 fingers that you were pointing, I got a fourth finger that suggests, how about gratitude? I think gratitude could be elevated to a spiritual practice, to very serious spiritual practice. It has been shown to be a powerful therapeutic tool, and there are counselors and clinical psychologists who prescribe exercises in gratitude to depressed and people that are anxious and some other conditions as well. What would happen though if rather than having a vague sense of gratitude, you made it more concrete and wrote in your journal? Or someplace that is special, not just a piece of scrap paper, but someplace that has some meaning when you write there. You write a list of things that you're profoundly grateful for, and in each one you say, yeah, if that was gone, that'd be a problem. And in point of fact, not everybody through history has had this thing which I have. Not everybody has it now. And I have it. Do you, as a holy person, do you, as a follower of Jesus, have to make sure that there's nothing good in your life unless every other person has it in theirs? Is that necessary? Do you have to move out of your house because somewhere there's people that are refugees and homeless people, down in Africa? You don't. I don't think that's called for. But how do you relate to what you have is an issue. And when Jesus talks about the fact that it's really tough for a rich person to become part of his kingdom, when that's tough, keep in mind that the people he was referring to as rich in his day our poor people, in many cases, have more than those people have. There's things that nobody had then that nearly everybody has now. The wealthiest person on the planet would have traded all of their wealth for any one of several things that you and I have always had, in most cases here. what does that say for how difficult it would be to really follow him and just be a normal person today? Well, how's it going? Who's really following him? How many people do you see that really, his values are their values? They've given it all up to really follow him. Or is it more likely that most people are selfish and greedy and dishonest when it's convenient? Gratitude, giving thanks in every situation, giving thanks for everything that you have, would really require fully keeping the 10th commandment. What's the 10th commandment? Not to covet. We've said this before. This is not the first time we've said it in this room together as a class. But covetousness is the thing that robs you of happiness most directly among all 10 commandments. If you go back through the other 9, they can make you unhappy. They can result in situations that make you unhappy. They can bring a lot of pain to others also. But the 10th one is actually at the very mechanism of what makes you happy or unhappy. If your way of approaching every situation, every experience, every second of your life where you're having experiences, if you run that experience through the following algorithm, whatever is not what I want. Whatever I had or whatever I'm experiencing right now, that is not what makes me happy. Then you can be guaranteed that as long as what is, you will never be happy. That's a guarantee. It's a mechanism for unhappiness, guaranteed 100%. So that is tricky because it gets punctuated with just a few times in our life where our ship comes in, and we really do say, doggone it, I made my first million. Or, she said yes. You know? Or you both say, I do. Or the baby was born. So you get it props up the illusion with a lot of pleasure at a certain point. But that kind of stuff, if you take two people who are not really happy with the way things are, and they make an exception that lasts for a few hours or for a few days, or for a 2-week honeymoon or whatever, and then they settle into making a life together, that moment where people said I do and everything was all frosting and cake and pictures and professionally done makeup and all of that. It isn't going to take very long if what is not what makes each of these people happy until that other person is what you have and you're used to, and that won't make you happy. And then you start looking for someone else, even in your heart. If it's just in your eye and in your heart won't be faithful. Your heart can be faithful. You won't make an exception for just that one avenue of your life either. It won't be, yes, everything else doesn't make me happy. Well, except that, no. If the mechanism is still there and in force to not be happy at every moment, no matter what you have, no matter what the reality is, even if you're in trouble or it's a bad time or you have just lost something or somebody very important, if your habit, if your programming is to have that be what does not make you happy, then you will not have a satisfying relationship for very long, ever in your life, with anyone. You may say, well, but I do want what other people have. I'm not really happy with the car that I drive, or the way I look, or the amount of money my family has, or whatever. I'm not happy with everything in my nature. I was hoping to be different. I'm not happy with the amount of intelligence I have in my head, or sound of my voice when I listen to it on tape or on the iPhone. But I do love my parents and my grandparents, you know. I'm never dissatisfied that they're who they are and everything. That's not a very real test because those are people that biologically, in many cases, love you unconditionally. Because you are them. You're not quite to the place where you start recognizing somebody else as an extension of you and their accomplishments as yours that you give yourself and other people give you credit for. But that's a false test because your parents regard you as the best part of them. And so that's not a real test of how you're going to do in relationships. Now, if you can't even get that one right, though, you got a good idea that you got some work to do before you're going to get any others right. If people are loving you like that, and you're dissatisfied with them and the way they love you, then it's going to be a tough haul when you get into a relationship with someone who's in it for themselves, like you're in it for yourself. So, would it be possible, and would it be helpful to actually go through, not in a trite way like you've heard people suggest it in church, several times in the last few years, and in little sort of pastel painted little thin little hardback books from the book and Bible store and everything, where it tells you to do that, and then another thing it tells you to make a wish when you blow a thistle in the seeds. It's not that ethereal stuff. I mean, for real, industrial strength, holy person activity, can you actually wrestle with actual gratitude, actual contentment? Here's an opportunity. There's a holiday that's supposedly for that. Yes, ma'am?
Sorry, only ask my question now. I just thought of it a time when I actually believe I was in that situation.
You actually believe you were in which situation?
And you like gratitude.
Yes, tell me.
So, when I was growing up, this is really personal, but growing up, my parents divorced. I was raised with my grandparents. My mom was going through a lot. And so she was around. I remember every year for Thanksgiving, we have a church program, like at 6 a.m., so we've been going to that our whole lives.
Yes.
And we were there, and I grew up with my sister and my grandparents, and they do this thing like everyone goes up there and gives testimonies throughout the year, blah, 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 right?
Yes.
And then, I just remember wishing, I was young, I was like 12 or something, and I remember wishing that my mom was there, because I haven't seen her in a while.
Oh, man.
And then, all of a sudden, I just felt this weird feeling, and I looked, my mom entered the church. And I was like, oh wow, she's here. Everyone was confused. The church family knows what's going on and everything.
They're all part of the story.
Yeah, and then, so I went up as a 12-year-old, most of the time it's just the old people that go to Christmas, and I was just like, oh, I'm grateful because my mom is here today.
Wow.
And then tears were going everywhere, and as a kid, I was kind of why is everyone crying? What's going on? You don't truly know the full story. I just knew as a kid that my mom showed up, and I didn't know she was going to show up that day. So,
and some people in the church might have known more of the story than you know today.
Right. So then at that moment, looking back now, it's at that moment, I wasn't thankful for the gifts I was going to get 3 weeks later, or even for my birthday that was coming up. It was I was grateful because I actually felt God answered a prayer that I was probably saying. And,
that's powerful. That's a wonderful example, and I'm sure all of us are honored that you would share that with us. That touches my heart. One element there is that you had something that day that you didn't always get. It went over the top for your normal expectations. That helps us sometimes. When something abnormal comes along, you feel really grateful. I mean, I can remember in 6th grade that, and we all feel kind of special over, many of us at least, unless our homes are pretty messed up. We have a certain gratitude when it's the holidays, even if there's things that are going wrong, it's the holidays, nothing special, and we didn't have a good time. And, you know, unless the holidays mean our parents are just going to get drunk and not come home, you know, which happens, but not for most of us. And in 6th grade, there was another 6th grader, a young lady that I had my affections focused upon. And it's that one of those situations where you write the note the night before to give to the person to tell them, you know, how it all is. And I had written that note most nights, and then it would be in my pocket, and it would get sweaty at recess, you know, through my pocket, and it never got delivered. You'd think, and then for some reason the opportunity comes and goes, and you didn't do it. You didn't come through. But the last day before Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving break, I was just headed to get up on the bus, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw somebody approaching and turned, and it was that girl. And she was looking nervous and kind of smiling. She handed me a little note. And I took it in my fat little 11-year-old fingers and said, "Happy Thanksgiving." She said, "Happy Thanksgiving." And I watched her walk away, and I said, "Man, she's such a little cutie." And I got up on the bus, and I pulled my coat like this so that other people couldn't see. And I turned on my little pen light, and I opened it, and all it said was, "I like you," with a heart. I was so thankful that Thanksgiving. Man, somebody liked me. So those kind of things, the ones that give you electricity in your stomach. Things you've been praying for, like you were praying probably in many ways for your mom. Praying about her, for her, specific hopes, and then one of them happened at just the right time. And those kinds of things that make good little holiday special stories on TV.
What about for people who lost all their family to genocide, or are part of some monopoly rich family, or already know like when Thanksgiving comes around, they're going to be by themselves? Like, when I think about the majority of people, probably got in a car accident or whatnot, like, can we really be grateful for all the things that are constantly happening, the things that we constantly don't consider? I mean, I feel, amnesty, like, I have so many people who write letters for. And do we actually, as a whole school body, probably not, probably 40 students.
Julie doesn't know.
Yeah.
I have an almost related story that might. There's no answer to your question, by the way. It's a question that's important to ask, and we have to keep asking and dwelling with, and letting it dwell in us. But I have a story that puts a log on the fire. I'll tell it in a moment.
I have a story for that too. One time in academy, I went on a mission trip to Haiti.
Yes.
And it was during Thanksgiving break.
Ooh.
And it was 2 years right after the big earthquake that happened.
Yes.
And so, but being a third world country is still really bad out there and stuff. And we went with ADRA, and we were building T homes, or temporary homes, to get people out of the streets.
Yes.
And we built a couple houses that week. And we hired some construction workers that were from Haiti,
yes,
so they could get cleaned as well. And one of the guys that was in charge of my group, He was this little man, like tinier than me, and you could tell that I was talking to him how to speak French as well, so we were speaking to each other, and he told me that he lost his family in an earthquake, his whole family, like his parents, his siblings, his wife, his kids. Everyone died. He's the only one that survived. So at this moment, I'm going to hear the story of Job, right? And I'm trying to talking about that. And then I was like, but how are you smiling every day when you come to work for us? Like, how is that happening? And he was saying that after the earthquake, like the Adventist community was one of the communities that didn't get affected by the earthquake as much. The campus was amazing how it's still in place. So they did a lot of like outreach to the community, and he was like, I got close to God, and he was telling me how, like, even though he lost everyone, like he literally goes home to his home that fell apart, and he's the only one that's there. And he said, I just know that everything's gonna be okay though, because my life was, like that's kind of stuff like I lived. It's like all I can do is like do better for them, and like live in their honor and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like I was thinking, if I was in that position where I lost everyone and like I now knew no one, I wouldn't want to live. Yeah. That's just being realistic. I would not want to live. The fact that he was able to come to work every day, so he would have to walk 2 hours every morning to get to the construction site that we worked at, and he had a smile on his face. He was sharing his food. He was very just such a happy person. It was like, are you okay in the head type of situation.
Yeah.
So and it's just kind of funny because he's been through a lot, and he doesn't have much, even with that old he had his shoes didn't fit him. They were so big for him, and he still made it work. And to the point where at the end of the week, I gave him my shoes. And he was just so happy to have shoes, and I didn't even think about oh my goodness, I even give him socks. But that's something that I was thinking oh, I can't wear shoes without socks. And him, he's like, oh, this works perfect. So it's just amazing, he went through everything during this week. He touched my heart. Instead, on Thanksgiving week.
Will you ever have a Thanksgiving without thinking about those two memories?
Probably not. I mean, it's been that Thanksgiving, the one in the city was 5 years ago now, and I honestly feel like it was yesterday, and I still write that guy occasionally.
Wow.
He really impacted my life in a weird way. And then my mom every year, because she's still where she is.
You know where she is?
Yeah, I know she is. She's better now. She's got remarried and she's more stable, but we still don't have a good relationship. So it's kind of I don't know if we're fighting or not this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Remember I talked about the example of the man who lived not far from the flashing red light at the bottom of the hill who was dying of AIDS. And I took a group of prep students and we went and did some work to landscape in his front yard. We put weeds out, the neighbors were cleaning up and all that. And he was another mystery of why would you say that now that you're going to die, you can't work. He had a great career actually in San Francisco. He had a great career and he had plenty of money and everything in his life was kind of set for him. And now he's going to die in weeks or a few months. And he says it's the best thing that happened. Have you ever wondered why, even if you have a pretty good situation right now, if you're going, okay, I'm not screwed up right now, things are pretty smooth, so how come I'm not really happy? Because you worry about what? You worry about that thing.
Kind of going off of what that I went through, this past year, my little brother went through the same thing. On his 19th birthday, he was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and ever since then, his relationship with God is out of the roof, and he thanks God for everything that he does. And it's inspired not only me but my entire family. We have nothing to complain about,
What is the prognosis?
Hodgkin's lymphoma.
It is Hodgkin's?
Yeah.
Is he responding to treatment?
Yeah, he just, he's finished his treatment, and then in December we'll find out if it's all on. Yeah, but it just goes to show that, like, even through this circumstance, his relationship with God is a lot stronger. And when he sees other people, like, living a life that's, not very, like, fulfilling, like, life fulfilling, he, like, gets, like, it really hurts him inside. Because we had a family member who was just, like, going through, like, motions of life, and ended up, like, in prison and stuff, and, like, that just broke his heart, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
When somebody who's a decent person, who's kind of lovable, gets really screwed over by life, or by somebody, they're victimized, or whatever, the compassion just flows from us when they're in a bad situation. It can, touch our hearts and everything. What about people that are beneath contempt? Hateful people that are the nastiest people you can imagine. I mean the nastiest. The ones that in your gut, it would be good news if you heard that they got killed. Does that touch you with compassion? Let me think, well, I wouldn't be like that. Okay, I triple dog dare you to watch a particular documentary on Netflix and test yourself while you watch it. See, don't fake it and say, no, I'm going to be on best behavior in my spiritual attitudes. Just see what it does to you. See if it's a roller coaster for you in terms of compassion and hate. It's the documentary is called. You'll have access to Netflix one way or another, pretty much. The documentary is called, ready? Pervert Park. Anyone seen it?
No.
Pervert Park. 120 people in Florida living in a mobile home park. They have no choice. They're on parole. And that's where they have to live for a certain number of months during their parole. They have, typically have ankle bracelet monitoring. And they're all on the sex offender list. And I mean, some of them are of the kind that you, no matter how spiritual you and I think we are, we probably, part of us says, well, good, if somebody just kills them in prison. You'll see one guy, if you watch that, you'll see one guy who will tell you with a straight face the story of how he drove down to Mexico to find a prostitute, and he couldn't find a prostitute, so he looked around and he found a little girl, like she was 5 years old, with her brother or cousin or somebody just walking on the street in the neighborhood, and he took her. Put her in his car, she's screaming, the little brother or cousin or whoever is running to get help. He does manage to get somebody, and they chase him with their car, and he gets away from them. He successfully evades their pursuit, uncles, dad, whatever, and they can't find him. So he rapes her. And he tells the story. And he's not the only story that gets told. But here's these people. They are a fact. They got sentenced to a certain number of years in prison, and it's all been served. Now they're done. Do they want to do those kinds of things that they did that got them into prison again? Do they want to? Yes, they do. It shows in this documentary they're actually actual group therapy with a counselor or psychologist or somebody who's in there and they're sort of confronting each other, the ones that have been there longer, and telling what they did. Men and women. One woman was there for molesting her own 8-year-old son. Now, if having said all of that, which I just said, I repeated that whole bit before when people asked, when I said, you hate them so much that a part of you would be going, oh, okay, you hear that they died in prison. My cousin died in prison. He wasn't really my cousin, he was the cousin of my half-brothers. You know the way you describe your family is somewhat unconventional. Yeah, I can plug into unconventional. Trying to figure out who's even related to who is a challenge and where you grew up. And I got partly raised by my aunt, who wasn't even really my aunt, the sister of my mom's second husband. But I'm from my mom's fourth husband. So she raised me part of the time when I was very small. And her son, who's probably 12 years older than me, he diddled his own 2 kids. So he went to prison here in California, and he died in the riots at Pelican Bay. You know, because they go after the protected custody for prisoners when they get a chance. I dare you before Thanksgiving. I dare you to watch Pervert Park and see what it does in your community. And then ask yourself, see if you can put this in parentheses and throw it to the end. Don't do it at the beginning. Watch it as yourself. And then ask yourself, if you were watching it with Jesus, what would you do? Because this is the same person who said, if you hurt one of those little ones, it would be better for you to have a millstone tied to your neck and thrown into the ocean. You know? I'll close with this. Here's what I said I would tell. There was a tour being given of some caves. The caves where some folk that were being persecuted for their beliefs fled to and hid so that they wouldn't be killed during the Inquisition. And in this tour group, there happens to be one yogi, one holy man, Swami, whatever. And he waited while people looked down inside these caves that were just tiny little openings that go down into a hole that's 100% pitch black, and they're damp, and you can smell the mildew and everything. And they had a stain in them. They couldn't even come out to go to the bathroom. They were like crowds of people that were huddled in there. And everyone looked, and they go, oh gosh, you know, some people lit a match or held out a lighter or a flashlight and looked in, oh man. And he waited until they had actually walked on with the tour guide. He hung back a little bit and he approached reverently. And he peeked in there. Wow, what a wonderful place to meditate. What a wonderful place to meditate. It's bizarre when our formula that we run our emotions and our thoughts and our thankfulness on is whatever I don't have is what I wish I had. What I do have is what I don't want. And when I am is when I don't want to be. And who I am is what I don't want. If that whole thing, whatever it is what I don't want. If you reverse that, whatever it is exactly what I want. Because I want to live right now. I want to actually be alive. I don't want to postpone being alive. Whatever it is, I am really grateful for. It's what I want. then it's going to make some shocking things when you run some situations through it, like the brothers. Like the guy at the bottom of the hill, when he was down, he's dead now, but when he was dying. When you reverse that formula, it gives some strange results too, the other direction. The Bible says that we are promised a perfect peace that passeth understanding. That means having a kind of peace and contentment and joy and calm in you. It doesn't even make sense. It passes, it goes past being understandable. It means it doesn't make any sense. I wish for you this Thanksgiving a perfect, mature, senseless peace. A joy and a thanksgiving that doesn't even make sense. God bless you. See you.